And welcome to episode 8 of Police Box Paradox. I am Wes. I am here with the momentum killer himself, Michael.
What's up, people?
That wasn't even momentum enough to get started to do anything. There.
Do you want me to go slower?
No.
How about
Hello.
no? Next time I'll just go, see y'all later.
Here's what makes me happy is that last few minutes of the last episode. I'm not going to say it got off the rails because it wasn't like it was out of control, but it just...
No, and it was...
Going back and listening to it made me so happy. And people responded very well to it, and that made me even happier. So,
well, for anybody that was watching the video, they probably noticed that I almost fell backwards out of my chair, trying to laugh, but trying not to overtake the audio, and I about fell backwards, took my microphone with me and everything else.
That's what's funny is that with the video out there, no one has mentioned one of two things. You falling in the floor when that happened. And two, I spent a third of the podcast talking, holding a puppy. Just in my hands while I talked, petting it like I'm Dr. Evil from from Austin Powers. Hit a cat, though. This is Police Box Paradox. You may not know this, but it's a Doctor Who podcast. We started a few episodes back to talk about Series 7A and Series 7 going forward, but we're going to keep going. We've got a lot of different topics that we're going to cover in the coming weeks before we get to the Christmas episode, primarily because what we have discovered is once we started a podcast, we have the most amazing listeners and Whovians in general. I mean, we talk to people I don't even think are listening to us, but they talk to us on Twitter like
they talk to it,
like
all
we're best
day.
friends. I mean, it's just nonstop. And here's what's crazy, too. I'm just realizing, like, we got people in the U.S., we got people in England, we got people in Australia. Like, we're hitting
that's what I was
all around
to
the globe. And I'm not saying that to toot my horn like we're the greatest thing ever. I'm saying that, like, that makes it crazy because people are awake at different times of the day. And I hate, like, I had this philosophy in life called no tweet left behind. If you tweet, I want to do everything I can to respond in some way, one of us. And sometimes I miss because there's so many sometimes.
And
it's just
typically you hit before I do, and I leave it alone, and sometimes we both do it.
Yeah, there's just so much. So my phone will be buzzing at like 2 in the morning, or it'll come on in the afternoon, and it's just like I'm trying to respond because I love all these people. Because here's what's happened. Doctor Who. Now I don't know in England in particular. I would say that's probably the place where you have the high saturation of fans. But like in my life, I know you. And I know Kyle, but Kyle only started watching Doctor Who in like the last year, maybe year and a half, because I begged him. I begged him to watch Battlestar Galactica and Doctor Who, and he wouldn't do it. And then one time he just sat down and did Doctor Who, and he fell in love immediately. I obviously have my family converted, but I did that myself. And I know that there is a kid that goes to my daughter's school that knows who Doctor Who is and watches it. Other than that, I got nobody that knows what Doctor Who is or even grasps it hardly. Jared watches it, and he's just a little bit behind at the time. But, I mean, it's very few people that really like it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what's happening is when you have the internet, I think there's these little clusters of small groups of people that love the show and want to be excited and talk about it like we do. And Twitter in particular is giving them that opportunity to get on and be like, I'm the only person in my area that knows it, but on Twitter we can all talk about it, and that's, I think we've lucked into becoming a major part of that for some of these people because we do a lot of the hashtags and things that are really starting people off. But I'm really, really excited about what we've got going on now for this episode. This is a Regeneration episode, which means we didn't have a new episode to watch, and we decided to go back and watch a previous episode. Now, for these, initially in particular, we're going to be doing stuff from 2005 on, because that's where we really know our stuff, I guess.
Plus, we're letting you all drive it.
Because we posted, and this was the one that got the most response. We're gonna discuss The Doctor's Wife, kind of as if we just watched it for the first time, except we're not gonna. It's like if you're downloading this on iTunes in the future, please know that we're all the way through Series 7A, so if there's something that ties in, we're going to talk about it, so that we don't consider anything in that span a spoiler. So keep that in mind. If you've not caught up to the Series 7A, just put it on pause. Come back later. We're fine. It ain't going anywhere. You can always download it again.
And if you're looking for us to critique the episode, I'll just come out and say it. If you didn't like the episode or you're wanting us to rip it to shreds, I'm sorry, we're not going.
Yeah, that's probably not your podcast. If you're looking,
no.
Look, it's Doctor Who's kind of like one of my children. Even when they mess up, they're still mine. And I love them no matter what. And it's kind of like that with Doctor Who. Unless like Moffat walks on screen and takes a dump, I'm pretty much going to be happy with the show. It's little things are going to happen that maybe I don't like as much as other. And actually, there'll be a discussion when we talk about this episode that leads to something else I didn't care for as much. But that, like, not in a complaining way, just in a, I think I would have adjusted the way I did something. But before we get into The Doctor's Wife, which I'm excited to talk about because it's one of my favorite episodes, we got to talk about something that happened today that really, until yesterday or the day before, I didn't even know existed and was coming.
I didn't see any news until yesterday. And I saw it. I saw a couple of little feeds on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. And at first, I just saw blurbs, and I was like, well, it's some fan thing or something. It's not legit.
I glossed over it.
Yeah. And then I just happened to look, and I was like, wait a second. This says it's from BBC.
Exactly.
This is BBC doing this. And it's like, oh.
Then you click the link, and then there's Arthur Darvill sitting by a microphone.
Shows that he's recording.
And I was like, uh-oh, something's happening. So I read through. And then today we get, is it called Doctor Who PS?
It's just called PS, yeah.
It is a small PS, really.
Yeah.
To the Angels Take Manhattan.
It's basically 5 minutes. I mean, it's just under 5 minutes, I think.
So, yeah. And it's here's the thing. Coming out of Angels Take Manhattan, again, not critiquing, the things that we thought we could have got but didn't. I loved the episode, but it's weird how quickly Brian became a character we care about.
And for that to be closure, we didn't get some that you would want.
And there was a lot of conversation that we got closure with Amy, but we didn't get closure with Rory because he was gone so quick. Although I argued that in the previous scenes when they did the jump, he got to have his closure then. But this, what we get here is something totally different and beautiful. And for those that haven't seen it, please go watch it. We're going to talk about it right now. So obviously, if you've not seen it, you need to run off before you listen to us.
Run along.
In this, I watched it earlier today, and then I watched it a little while ago too, because it's to me, for the fact that it's just storyboards, it's way good.
That's what I did. I've watched it, and then when I was going to get Kanan and I was just driving, I actually pulled it up and just listened to it so I could get more of a feel for the Rory. Yeah. Man, that dude, between the score to it and how he reads that alone is enough. You don't need to see any pictures.
No, and but the storyboards are good, and when I see the storyboards, I can picture the actor who played.
Oh, you can picture Brian's face, doing it. Yeah,
and he would kill it. I mean, it was so just you see him sitting there watering the plants, doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and that guy coming to the door. I wish when they had shown, and everybody, I'm sick, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to suck on these cough drops so I can talk. When the gentleman comes to the door, I don't think that they showed the age as well as they could have.
They didn't, no.
Because he seemed much younger to me than what it turned out he was. But, again, we didn't have to have this. This scene was supposed to be in Angels Take Manhattan, and it got cut. I guess for the sake of time, there was a lot that happened. But to me, if it's me, I go, hey, BBC America and BBC, we're going 10 minutes long tonight because we got to have this scene in the show, and it's the Pond's last episode, and y'all just going to have to deal with it.
Well, I couldn't figure out if it was time or if they just thought it was redundant for Amy to write a letter to the doctor, and then, Rory I don't know if they felt that maybe it was redundant that way.
And it could have been, but I think there's an easy way to get out of that, and it may have confused some people, but other shows do this all the time.
Go back and forth?
No, you do exactly what they did, and you run like that last close and kind of start to go to commercial or run the credits, and then pull out, kind of like the Thanos in Avengers.
Yeah. Okay.
You just put some credit or something as a divider.
You give it a break.
Yeah, kind of like that last 35, 45 seconds of a sitcom that come back, to close it out. Something like that. Yeah. Because, again, it's short, and it would have separated it and really been good. And I know you want that impact of closing with just Amy, but this was almost more special to me than Amy, and I think I know why. Because, and you're a father, and I'm a father.
Yes.
When he's apologizing to his dad for, being upset for stupid things and telling him he's the best dad that there could ever be and all that, being a father and having had a father, I realize that I need to say those things to my dad, and I pray that my son and my daughters will say those things to me when they get older and realize, that even though they don't agree with everything, everything's done in the best interest. And I just thought it was really powerful. I would have loved to have seen Brian.
That's one of the powerful aspects, is that it's something relatable. Most people can relate to it and get that. And it's like, that's probably what I wish I could say that,
Right.
I mean, it gets to that level that not everything does.
You're not going to say it because it just doesn't feel like it's the right time to say it. And then whenever it's too late is when you'd wish you'd said it 1,000 times. And it's just this. The whole thing was done so well. And I'm glad you mentioned the score. The music is just perfect. It's not overpowerful. It's not overwhelming. It's not too much in the mix. It's just
that's one reason I listened to it the way I did, because that's one thing we've commented on. Especially Kyle has pointed out the score on each episode. They've taken more time with the score this season too, I think, in terms of. So I wanted to listen, and the score gets the perfect tone just along with everything else. I mean, they didn't just slap this together I realize it's storyboards and everything else, but they took the time to think it through and be like, okay, if we're going to do this, let's do it this way, instead of just slapping it together and say,
this wasn't just let's just throw this out here so they know what happened. Like, I remember, I forget what it was. There was a show, it may have been John Doe. They put out, like, when it got canceled, they did one season and left a lot of cliffhangers, and they put out, like, one script to explain where it was going, just so people would know. It's not like that. It's not like, here's just something. They said, they knew that this was a key piece. They did it right. They put it out. They put it out through BBC. I'm really happy they did this. This also, I'd bounced around the theory, again, not that it was true in any sense, just a theory, that Amy had lied. This makes me feel they didn't. I mean, this makes me feel like because again, I didn't feel the Pond's ending was tragic. I thought it was bad because they didn't get to travel with the Doctor. They didn't get to live in the world they know and see, Brian and things like that. But they got to be together in the end. And that was the fear all along, that the tragedy would be that one of them would die in a way they couldn't be together, and they got to be together. So I guess I didn't look at that as tragic as it could have been. So I got worried that there was a lie in there. But I don't think there is now. I think with all that, it happened in that storybook fashion, the way that they ended it, and that makes me very happy. I just think it was well done. I'm happy. Hats off to whoever put it together. I don't think Moffat wrote it. I think someone else did.
No, it was the Chris. I think it's the guy that wrote the episode before. Was it the guy that wrote the episode before? Maybe. That was another thing. I liked how they included that first clip. Mm-hmm. To give you the connection between the two. Yes.
To put it all together. And this is, I saw an article on, it may have been IGN, it may have been something else, that discussed that at some point, not necessarily that there's rumors or that it's happened or it's coming, but at some point Stephen Moffat will leave the show, whether it's next year or 10 years from now. And there was a discussion as to who should take over when he leaves. I think that's an entire episode we can do in the future, because there's a lot of good theory as to people that could do it. The guy that does the Power 3, I would actually be kind of happy if he took over. He's got a good style and understands. Because I would love Neil Gaiman to do it, but he won't do it. Speaking of Neil Gaiman, we're going to now talk about The Doctor's Wife. Now, Neil Gaiman wrote this episode. It is his only episode that he has written. I will be perfectly honest. I don't know a lot about Neil Gaiman other than the fact that everyone says he's awesome. I've not read American Gods or any of the other books, although I have it now, and I'm going to read it.
I won't lie, I'm the same.
But dude won me over real fast with this episode. I took a bunch of notes while I watched it because I wanted to have things to talk about, but I don't know if we're going to go through everything that happened in order and kind of go that way, because that's usually not our style, but it may work for this. I'm just flat out open up with I love this episode. This is probably my favorite Matt Smith episode. I'm weird. When I do my top 5 episodes, I have my top 5 Eccleston Tennants and then my top 5 Smith, because to me it feels like 2 completely different eras and they can't mix together.
It really, I mean, that's a fair statement. It really is.
Whereas Blink is my favorite and Silence in the Library is my second. I actually think this may be my third overall favorite. There's something magical about the episode and very fitting and beautiful because of what it's about. And it makes, there's a lot of things that from this episode on, I looked at a lot of things differently, even going back and watching it. So we're assuming you all have seen the show, so we're just going to talk about it in general. But so we can get to all other stuff, but the main part of this show is the TARDIS is inside of Idris.
Yeah.
And the Doctor and the TARDIS finally get to have a conversation. He can talk to the TARDIS. And I'm a guy, I talk to my cars, I talk to my cameras, I talk to them like they're real, but not at any point have they ever been able to talk back. For the first time ever, the TARDIS got to talk back, and it was perfect. It was perfect, and it was beautiful, and oh my goodness, my dogs are upset. Calm down, dog.
Okay, they disagree.
They know it's a good episode. Marley's back. The line, and I'm sure we probably should close with the line, but the line in this episode, and when I remember watching it the first time, I remember sitting there where everyone was in the room. Whenever he says, "You didn't always take me where I wanted to go," and she comes back with, "But I always took you
where you needed to
go." That brought tears to my eyes when I watched it again, because that's when I realized that this is a team. Like, we always root for the Doctor. We always talk about the Doctor, but the Doctor can't do any of it without the TARDIS, because while it's normal to sit there and know, the TARDIS is alive, I don't think we grasp. I didn't grasp it to that extent until I saw this episode. Until I saw the TARDIS have an opinion, and they played it so well with things like her saying that she stole him.
Yes.
Like, and she chose him, and she let him take her, and she said she wanted to go on an adventure, but he was the only Time Lord man enough to do
Crazy
it.
Enough, yeah.
That just gave the character a whole different aspect than we've ever seen anything before with the TARDIS. Now, like in that closing, whenever the episode's going off, and he says, "Can you understand me or can you hear me?" and she, the lever ratchets.
Yeah.
That's, from now on, it's just like she's a part of this. And when I look at classic episodes and things happen with the TARDIS, I just think that's a living being thing. That's a part of this show. That's a part of what I have here. And I love the TARDIS now even more.
Well, I liked it because, I mean, anybody could argue, well, isn't it just coincidence that anytime the Doctor shows up, something happens? Well, guess what? Now you have a reason. Now you have it explained, and you can't argue that anymore because the TARDIS is doing it on purpose.
And here's why. And it's been explained before, too, but you don't understand it until this moment, because she sees everything at the same time. She sees past, present, and future in the moment. So there's it's all confusing for her, but she knows where they need to. I mean, it's really, she knows something's happened and needs him to be there to fix it. It's almost like she's in charge of Quantum Leap and just sending him where he needs to go.
Which that was kind of fun when she was first talking and everything else, and just spitting out lines that you would hear later. She'd be like, "Oh, you didn't say that yet."
Pentacore or whatever,
I mean,
all that stuff, and it's just like
fish fingers. Why do fish have fingers?
Fingers?
And it just repeats. 10 minutes down the road, she can't keep it all straight.
Yeah, and I don't know. Has that actress been in something else I've seen? Do you know?
I don't know, but
because she is phenomenal. at the role. She nailed, because here's the thing. If you're going to be the TARDIS and the way they're doing it, you have to be somewhat like the Doctor.
Yes.
Like, you have to have Doctor in you in some way, which we're going to have a whole episode on a new Doctor and whether you can have a female Doctor, because I believe you can.
Well, they kind of give hint of that in this episode, too.
And if she hadn't have played the TARDIS, would be the perfect Doctor as a female Doctor. She has that kookiness and craziness, and it all just works. And I love so many good lines. That's why I can't wait. Neil Gaiman's doing an episode this season in the second half, right?
Rumored to be. Because they've almost got all the episodes filled out, so it's looking less likely maybe this time around. But I mean, he's supposed to be doing another one.
Is so genius that, like, whenever she says, I mean, it's a throwaway line, but she says, you know, and you bring home strays. Because he does.
Yes.
To her, he's just picking up stray dogs. But they're his companions. Or whenever he tells her to get the telepathic link and says, the pretty one? And he says, yes. And she calls Rory.
Rory.
That's amazing. It's so just the little things with her. I'm telling you, this is such a good episode. It's written so well. And, excuse me, I'll talk about the problem I have. Because that way we can get to it and then talk about more positive stuff.
Okay, well, I'll go right now. Her name was Saran. It's almost spelled like Susan, but it's Suranne Jones. And just scanning through IMDb, nothing's jumping out at me like I should know what it is.
Right.
It's probably all, I think it's all British stuff. So you've seen a couple of things more than I have. So you.
But I don't remember her from anything. But she has that face and demeanor that I've known her before. Like, I'm comfortable when she speaks. Now, my problem with this episode is this. And it's not so much about the episode as where this happened. Now, if you'll remember, this episode leads us into the two-parter for The Flesh.
Yeah.
And then the season finale. It was the season finale after that, right? Or the mid-season break, fall break.
Same as, yeah.
I really think they mismanaged their time, and The Flesh could have been done as a one episode, and this could have been a two-parter.
Well, see, this episode was originally supposed to be was written for the 5th season,
right?
And they couldn't do it because of budget. I mean, they ran
which
out
makes
of money.
sense.
Yeah, so that's why it got moved over to the 6th season. It would have been nice to see a. You know, I mean, you could have stretched it out and ended the first episode at the point that the TARDIS leaves,
right?
And stretched that whole, you know, him looking for Time Lords and everything else out even longer. So
here's why I wish it could have been a two-parter, and it's selfish because of Idris and the way she plays the TARDIS. Because here's the thing, you can't do it again. No. We can't go back. Everything, like, to me, we have everything that we have. And we can't go back. So what we have is it, and I want more. And I feel we could have explored a lot more and stretched it out and had. I don't know if they could have had more conversations, but they could have done some more with it. The other thing that we could have done, and I don't. We can jump back to talking about Idris and the TARDIS itself, but the scenarios where Amy and Rory are running through the TARDIS. They could have been stretched out a lot longer because we didn't. I remember when this happened, everybody was excited because they were like, we got to see the TARDIS. We got to see the TARDIS. We got to see the halls in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Like, in the original script, we were supposed to see the pool.
Yeah.
But we didn't because I think it's Amy can't swim. And it was going to cost a lot of money to do things differently. And it was going to be too much trouble. And so they cut it. But... I wanted to see the library. I want to see the pool.
You could have showed more of,
I want to see some of those things that we get told about all the time but never see. You know, and I think you could have stretched that out. And I think you could have had a lot of fun with House and them running through the TARDIS and doing different things. Now, speaking of House.
Should have been Hugh Laurie.
Ooh.
Doing the voice, just for the fun of it.
That would have been a good voice. Although I like this guy's voice.
I feel like I should know the voice, but
and I went and looked him up actually. And while I think he's been on some things you've seen, nothing that like jumped out and you were like, it's that guy. He did the voice for this. House as a main bad guy is pretty gangster because he has killed hundreds of Time Lords. He eats TARDISes.
Yeah.
He eats them, and they're big. Like I know we see that it's just a police box, but that joint is huge, which will come back to House. We saw a TARDIS graveyard, like junkyard, and these things, they can look any way you want. There's one that looks like the back of a spaceship. I've paused that screen many times trying to look through all of them,
seeing what all's in there.
Thinking, and then it makes me feel stupid because I look at it and I'm like, I bet there's some classic Who stuff that I have no idea that's in there, but it's really cool that it is. So I'm hoping to someday go back and notice that. But now
I have a question going to the graveyard. Did it ever register with you? Are you thinking that? Wait a second, didn't the 10th Doctor give a piece of the TARDIS to the other guy? Aren't they supposed to be able to grow TARDIS? So shouldn't there be something growing somewhere in theory?
No, because they ate the...
Well, he did eat. He ate... Okay, that's...
Out of the ones that are there, yeah. Out of the ones that are on the planet, he ate their soul. And that's kind of like the shell that's left.
Yeah.
So, it's like, from those. But, I'm now remembering where they gave the piece of the TARDIS, which means it could be growing somewhere else. And there's another one somewhere in the world. Just like there's a Time Lord somewhere, and there's the Doctor's daughter that we never dealt with, and things like that. There's a lot of things out there.
Yeah, there's plenty of loose strings here and there.
But House leads to. I remember whenever that season started, there was two things that happened that got me excited. When season 6, right?
Yeah.
When series 6 started. There were two things that got me, like I'm always excited, but there were two things that got me jumping around the house excited. One was the fan-made video of Eminem and Dre's I Need a Doctor when they took and mashed up the music with the clips from the show, and I was like, holy cow, this is the greatest song ever now. And two was when House says, fear me, I've killed hundreds of Time Lords.
Yes.
And the Doctor retorts with, fear me, I killed them all.
Wasn't that in the very first trailer?
Yes, they showed it. And that was one of those. I was laying on the couch, feet propped up, watching on the big screen. He said it, and I jumped off the couch and was jumping around the room like, "Oh, it's going down!" And Dr. Whovian.
I remember when that first came out, and people were still theorizing about the silence and everything else. Is like that has to be the silence. It's the same voice as.
I thought it was.
I
thought it was the silence. I thought that's what we're dealing with because we didn't know anything about the silence.
No,
all we knew at that point was we knew that we had all the as soon as we found out about the silence, we knew the silence will fall and all that stuff was coming back, but we had no idea. And it was so refreshing. House was a good villain because he had killed enough Time Lords to where it was a problem. Like he had killed a lot. And the Doctor, it broke my heart watching it. When he gets the knock on the door and gets D-mail, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
The Doctor email system, the emergency messaging that came. And he gets that message from the Corsair. Now, these messages are from severe distress. Like, you don't send this because you're having a barbecue. You send these messages because there's a problem and you are in dire need of help. But the Doctor is so happy.
Yeah.
Because he thinks that even though there's danger and trouble, he at least there's a Time Lord alive, and he's so happy, and he has that ripped away because he knows that they're all dead and there's nothing he can do, and he's faced with it. And you see him. Amy has that moment where she says, "You're looking to be forgiven," and he is.
That's one of the things I had written down. Yep, was that line? Yeah.
It's a powerful line, and he comes back with "Don't we all?" Yeah. But even more than that, I know they like to say he killed the Time Lords, but they're locked in the time lock, so technically they're not dead; they're just locked.
But how he carries it and how he sees it is that he's killed them. Yeah,
it's a heavy weight on his shoulders. I mean, that's something that he just can't get rid of, and he does want to be forgiven, and he wants to get over it. And here's something I wish we had somebody that had classic Who, and we don't have as many people viewing live as we usually do because we're doing it at a weird time. But the Corsair gets mentioned.
Yeah.
Is that someone we were supposed to know from before, maybe?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, that's one thing I was curious to go back and see because, yeah, they pick their title or something along their names, right?
Right.
So we've got the Corsair, we've got the Master, we've got the Doctor. Have we ever been introduced to any other characters carrying that type of title?
See, that's what I don't know, because Classic Who, apparently they went to Gallifrey all the time. Like, you just go take a romp in Gallifrey and hang out. And I know that there's, when we're talking like that Valiard stuff that's coming, or that happened, and we're going to try to discuss when we find out more about it, there was a trial, and I want to say there were Time Lords there too. So I think at that point there were multiple ones that we could see. So I don't know if this was one or not, and maybe I'm stupid and don't know what I'm talking about, but hopefully someone will help us and send us information on that. That reminded me of classic Doctor Who, and kind of tying it back to other things that are going on. I get nervous when the Doctor doesn't have the TARDIS. Not when it's not on screen, but like when it's not available to him, it freaks me out. Like I have this, I don't know why, I get nervous and I get twitchy. And then I find out that during the season where the Brigadier plays a huge role in Classic Who, there's apparently an entire portion of the show where he's stuck in the United States and doesn't have the TARDIS and just goes everywhere like regular people. Is that
like,
true?
I've seen a picture of like this, basically like this car that he drove around. Was that when?
I guess. I don't know. I can't. Could you watch a season? Like, let's say Matt Smith is stuck. I don't mean it doesn't have to be the U.S. It could be anywhere. Like, it'd probably be Cardiff, to be quite honest.
With the Doctor pimping around in a Prius, because the TARDIS is
like the TARDIS is like, because in Angels Take My Hand there was rumor the TARDIS was going to be turned to stone.
Yeah.
If the TARDIS had been turned to stone, he doesn't have a TARDIS for an entire season. What would happen? That would be crazy sauce. I don't know how we would deal with that. I'm telling you, I get twitchy if I know he can't just snap his fingers and opens the door. And that's another good line. I don't want to let that pass. When she said there was a sign on the door, you've been in and out for so many hundred years. And what does it say? What does it say? It says, doors open outward. Right. And which way do you open? They always open outward, and you open them inward. Like they turned into a married couple. Yeah. And it was so beautiful.
I like the fact that he knows what it says and he doesn't care.
Right. Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter. He's just
it's my door. I'll open it how I want.
Just however. It's mine. So what? Deal with it. It's such a good moment. It's seeing him. And I remember leading into this episode, we didn't know what it was about. Like I had no clue when we.
No, they played with it enough to where you're like, okay, what is so?
As soon as I heard it was called The Doctor's Wife, I thought his wife, because he had a wife before in Gallifrey, and children.
So he goes outside the universe and runs into his wife.
That's what I thought. Yeah, and I remember probably within the first. I think I put it together within like the first 30, 45 seconds. Like when they said the soul was coming out and something was going in, I had it figured out then. Not that I'm a genius. It just, the puzzle makes sense. Yeah. But I remember as it happened and everybody in the room started to figure it out when we watched it the first time, I was so excited. I was like a kid at Christmas, dude. Like it was a whole different experience for me. It was just so happy because I was like, I'm going to hear the TARDIS talk because that's fitting. Because up until then, that's who his wife would have to be. And then, of course, now he's married to River, and that's a whole different ball of wax. But let's see, I'm going to look through my notes. Do you got any other topic from the show you want to hit?
Let's see here. Now, if we were recording this and this time last year, and this is the first time that we saw the episode and everything else, there's a quick shot where the Sonic is lit up as blue. I would be tearing that apart, analyzing it 15 different ways.
As to what exactly that's going to lead to, and
why is it blue? What's it do? Let's see here. I just wrote down like different quotes.
That's what I kind of did when I was watching. I just kept a little thing open on my notebook.
I liked when Amy looked at him and was like, "Did you wish really hard?"
One of the funniest moments of the season was because he goes, "She's a woman, and she's a TARDIS."
But she's the TARDIS. He repeats it like 3 times.
Because it's perfect. A woman, it is the greatest thing he ever had. It's fish fingers and custard. I mean, it's the best thing he's ever had. Yeah. And she's like, "Did you wish really hard?" Because
not like that.
That's too perfect. Like that's too how it happened. too perfect.
And when I watched it today, it's a quick little line that he kind of just mumbles. It's almost like everything else is going on, so you don't quite pay attention. Almost like the first time when you watched Avengers, you don't hear the Hulk say "Puny God." Is once they're in basically what is the 10th Doctor's control room.
Oh,
which it disappoints me that he doesn't even acknowledge it.
Right.
I wanted him to go, oh, "Hey, I'm back." Or
I acknowledged it.
Yeah. I remember analyzing the out of that scene and everything else on the side.
Room, that front left column had collapsed. Stuff was on fire. They were breaking apart my soul.
Yes.
And I got to see it again.
But when they materialize and everything else, and they realize that the Ood is dead, it has been just destroyed, he goes, "Another Ood I failed to save."
Ooh. I don't think I caught that. That's a good line.
Yeah.
That's a good catch. Oh, the Ood. Ood and the Loo. I love all my Ood. I love them all. Now, House does mention, whenever he's in the TARDIS, he says, "I should have done this 500,000 years ago."
Yeah.
So the House is old.
Yeah.
Did we ever get confirmation of what House is?
What did he say? He was like a, what was it that he referred to him as? Sea urchin or something?
Yeah,
or,
in the bubble court
Yeah.
bathtub universe.
Yeah,
thing.
Which I liked how they explained it, because the universe is a big bubble and this is a little soap bubble on the outside of the big bubble. Oh, so that's what this is? No, not at all.
Not exactly. Just because that's how the Doctor explains things. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
But basically, a sentient asteroid.
Right.
I mean,
I did some research, and in the, maybe not the original script, but in the original workings before they got started, he was supposed to almost be God. Is kind of the way it was supposed to be, a god of some kind, like that kind of thing. And then they changed it because that's one thing, and we could probably do a whole episode on that. Doctor Who doesn't really touch religion, and I don't think I'm going to either. But like, to me, there had to be, like, there's got to be a moment in a writer's room where at least somebody said, "Let's go back to the birth of Christ," or "Let's go to," there's got to be a moment like that, and then someone's like, "No, we're not going there." Actually, I was very shocked that we had the "Let's Kill Hitler" episode, because that to me would be a touchy subject to go, and it seems like
really you. And with the One River line, I can't remember what it is right now, but
that would have been a little touchy. So I understand why they would have changed that and kind of went a different direction, and it worked. Yeah. It worked because you felt he was powerful right from the start, because he has the ability to make these weird patchwork people. I love Auntie and Uncle. I really do. I mean, I don't want to ever be around them because they're way creepy and scare me. But I would like.
And there's no reason for them to be Auntie and Uncle, but
it just works. And nephew, Auntie, Uncle, and they have nephew. It just works. It just works. And they did the line about, how's your dancing? Because you got 2 left feet.
Yeah.
It works very well. That's what makes me want Neil Gaiman to do more episodes. I know he's rumored, but it sounds like he's not going to be able to do the second half of the season. I really wish he would. I wish he would do it and do something big, because I want more like this. Another good line I got in my notes is the biting is excellent. It's like kissing.
I was actually going to try to close the episode out.
Yeah, it just worked. And the doctor calling Idris sexy. She's like, "What do you call me? Sexy? I do not." "Yes, you do." And then he does. Only
when it's us.
Only when we're alone.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking back through my notes, running through.
One thing you wanna go ahead and kind of expand from this on how it relates to everything beyond it.
Go at it.
Because 2 things I liked was, one, Amy tells Rory to look after him. And that's something that didn't really register. Amy's done that from, as soon as they started, Rory was with them and everything else. She's always telling people, watch him.
Right.
Almost like she's the one taking care of him. So she acknowledges it all. And she even called him out. And it doesn't necessarily play with him making mistakes, but she points out that he makes mistakes when he gets emotional.
Right.
Shows how well she knows him. And, this is the first time we see him this emotional, and he just continues emotional after this till, a few weeks ago.
This is the build-up. Like, this was the build-up to Good Man Goes to War.
Yeah.
Right? So, and which is in the most emotional I think we've ever seen him is during the Colonel Runaway scene when he almost I enjoy that scene because I like when the Doctor just gets gangster on people. Yeah. But, like, he almost goes so far at that point that I remember looking over to, I want to say my wife, whenever we were watching, I said, it's almost like he's not the Doctor right now. Like, he's to a different place, but
yeah,
it worked. And this is kind of where you start to see him go, because he's sitting there looking over. Those boxes basically represent hundreds of his dead race, and there's not a lot of them because he locked them all up in the time vault. Or
I'm actually surprised. Anyway. I think if it would have been a 2-part episode, they would have been able to give more time to him reacting to that, and give him another one of those opportunities to show. Because Matt Smith's one of those where he can show he's carrying that burden and project it.
Oh,
and
yeah, very well.
And then something will snap him back and he goes on. Like, he could have been in the middle of that, and then that's when Amy calls and he realizes what's going on, and that would snap him back to what he needs to be doing. Because just like with A Good Man Goes to War, it's almost like he suddenly gets that tunnel vision, and it takes something to snap him back. So, and I'll have to go back and look, but wasn't there a line with Madame Vashta or whatever in A Good Man Goes to War that points out how he reacts when he gets emotional?
Yeah, I don't remember what the line is though, but yeah, because we keep getting beat over the head with he can't be alone. I think he can't be alone because he becomes less caring and more.
He detaches from
humanity, which is the whole purpose of what he's doing. He likes to save humanity, whether it's our race or other ones. He likes to get involved. Now another thing, and this got pointed out before. River has told Amy to watch after him before, and then of course Amy left the show telling River to watch him.
Yeah.
So it's keeping tabs on the Doctor is apparently more important than we realize. Like he definitely can't be alone, and he needs somebody to hold his hand and keep him calm and keep him focused, even though they don't necessarily always have to listen. Now,
which is really, that's a good callback to the companion, because during the time of the Time War and him doing everything he didn't have a companion. Then he comes back, gets a companion, and it's almost like the companion keeps him here over on this side, but without it, he starts slipping back to that character that threw everybody in the time lock and just said, if you all just turned his back and just walked away and be done with it.
Yeah.
So they let him slip into that almost, towards more of, I guess, what that character would have been at the time that we've not seen.
It's definitely... I want to say there's a dark time coming, but I don't think there is. There might. I read some stuff, not spoilerish, but I read some information about how they're going to handle possibly the new companion, which
I'm right.
Sounds kind of cool,
and I should have it finished maybe by the time this is on iTunes. In theory, so.
There's stuff. Yeah, we're not big spoiler. Well, Michael loves spoilers, but I don't like them.
Well, no, this is me totally, me theorizing based off of the most spoilerish stuff. It is like based off of a couple of lines.
Yeah, and we've seen some pictures and stuff. That's pretty.
And
cool.
Seen some pictures, but other than that, it's total theory. So
yeah. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about before we put the Doctor's wife to bed. When we're talking about the classic, when we got the previous control room,
yes,
she has a line that says she can archive all of them. She has 30. And he says, I've only had 12. And she says, well, I've got 30 or whatever. And he says, you can't do that. And she's like, yes, I can. So she has at least 30 versions of the TARDIS kind of in place.
Yeah.
And could call on. That's what I think would be cool if we could kind of see one in advance.
Send to another control room that's one that we've not seen before.
The other thing, and maybe it's been touched on before, but they just flat out say that if you just flat delete the TARDIS matrix without pulling it and putting it into a body to let it down on its own, it rips a hole into the universe. Yeah. The TARDIS is a serious piece of machinery because if it dies...
I mean, that kind of goes... Does that go back to sort of when Rose...
absorbed all the energy and
absorbed it, and it was not a good thing.
No. No, it didn't work out well.
No.
Well, I guess technically it did.
It gave Captain Jack his immortality. So
yeah, so maybe it was all right, but yeah, the TARDIS is more powerful than we realize, and definitely a stronger player than we realize. Now, another thing we got in this episode that we should get used to is we had dead Rory, we had old Rory, and we had dead Rory. And we had him waiting.
This was the second or third time he had already died at this point.
He keeps dying. I love Rory, but he can't. In the end, did he die 11 times? Is that what we had?
Yeah, it was 11-11.
11-11 each of them. So yeah, that was good. Now, something else that happened on this, which leads me to another thing that I'm not happy about in general in real life, is we ended up with a TARDIS on the TARDIS.
Yes.
A TARDIS materialized inside the TARDIS. Now, that is cool. And I don't know how many people have seen it. I don't know what it's for. Is it Red Nose Day or the comedy thing? There's some comedy thing that I don't know what it is.
When the TARDIS, and you've got the two Amy's and all that. That's what that's for.
It's a short, I want to say it may be 8 to 10 minutes, and I've got it somewhere here.
And it might be the one that the kids write. They let.
No, I don't think this was a kids write.
Is this the different one?
The new
kids
one.
Wrote.
The next one they wrote.
This is the one before that, which was like Einstein or something. So yeah, okay.
This is like a little one-off piece. If you've not seen it, go look it up. I forget the name of it. You can find it though.
I'll link to it. I've got it on the site somewhere. So.
It's basically what happens is Amy, Rory, and the Doctor are on the TARDIS. And they're doing their thing, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the TARDIS materializes on the main control room. So you have a TARDIS inside a TARDIS, and then they time shift. So Amy comes in from the outside door because her timeline is ahead. So we've got two Amy's, and then our Amy goes in the other door. It's this weird continual loop, and I'm telling you, if you not see it, it is amazing. And you need to watch it. But I remember when I watched it, I got mad because I was 8 minutes. This could have been a full episode. If not a two-parter. It could have easily been, if The Doctor's Wife was a two-parter, it could have been a part of that. There is so much more you could have done with that. You could have ended up with multiple TARDISes. TARDI. I don't know what the plural for TARDIS is.
Yeah, me and the guy had a conversation on...
Would it be TARDI?
Well, see, that's the only thing, because TARDIS is an acronym, not an acronym, but it stands for time and blah, 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 blah.
Dimension in space.
So, it would have to be TARDISes, because TARDI would remove space, so.
We can't remove space. So it would have to be TARDISes, you're right. So it would be, okay. So you could have had multiple TARDISes on the control room.
Those are the conversations we're having on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, if that interests you, that's what we talk about. So I mean, that's a theory I wish we could have had. So I wish The Doctor's Wife was 2 episodes. I wish that little 10-minute segment was 1 episode, at least, because I think there's so much you could do. And again, you've done that piece, you can't do it again. I guess you could, because that technically probably isn't canon, but I just want it so bad. Now, the way this episode not ends, but the way we defeat House. The way is not important.
Every time you say House, I picture Hugh Laurie.
But here, look, it's not how the Doctor defeats House in this one. It's the principle in general that in the end, the Doctor's just smarter than you are. I don't care what bad guy you are. He's just smarter, or he's more no one has a shot. It goes back to how the Silence in the Library, that 2-parter, ends. That's one of my favorite moments in all of the thing. It's just the Doctor flexing me look, or the Blood Family, which is what I definitely want us to do. Yeah. It's just, he's so powerful that in this situation, he's just smarter than you are. You had your little plan, and then he proved you wrong, and he saved the world. And it all just works out because he's the Doctor. And there was a conversation happened in the house here last night where there was a long story I can't get into about, but like, if you knew you were going to die in an hour and you could spend, that hour with any one person, blah, 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 and it was doing all this, and my son was like, here's a question. Can I pick the doctor? And I was like, I think so, because you might be able to save yourself. It may work out. And we just started talking about the fact that my wife said, look, you're dying. The doctor can't fix that. And I said, listen, if we've learned anything, it's that given 42 minutes, the doctor can solve any problem that you can give him, no matter what. No matter what. Now, let's see. We've already covered that. Oh, here's something. And I don't remember exactly how it played out. I mean, obviously I know how the whole thing worked, but the TARDIS said something to Rory.
Yeah.
Told him the only water in the forest is the river, which is obviously a reference to River Song. Mm-hmm. Did that play into something a different way, or just the whole lead up to her?
That was a reference to that that one girl, the army girl that sewed the little patch.
Right.
That's their race, their culture didn't have a word for
right. Okay.
Because the only water they had was a river. So
gotcha, and that led us to the other. Okay, that's what I was thinking. But I couldn't remember if it played in because it seems like this episode was forever ago, but it wasn't. Like this was like a year ago.
About a year ago, yeah.
But it seems like it was farther and farther away. So I guess that's about all I've got for this episode, unless you got something else you want to go for.
No, that covered. Oh, bunk beds are cool.
Bunk beds are cool. I don't want one, but they are cool. And so let's see if there's any other stuff we need to get to. Kyle's not here. He's on a hot date. Look, what can you tell you? I mean, woohoo! The man's out doing his thing. What are we going to do? Say no?
We're grounded and boring. He's the exciting one.
Yeah, we got families and dogs and things. So, I mean, we got nothing to go out and do. When you got hair like that, go out and paint the town red, people. Go out and paint it red.
And he can do it with his hair.
He sure can. And then we have a bachelor party tomorrow night and different things going on. So, we got to save up. So we're recording this early. Again, schedule recording-wise is going to be weird for the next month and a half. Some episodes may not even be on Google Hangout. We may do them live. You never know. But we appreciate the feedback. We appreciate the comments. There's been several. We're now up to, what did I say, 8? Did I say 8? Comments on iTunes, or 9?
8 or 9.
Okay, 8 or 9. When we hit 20, we're giving away that iPad, the Doctor Who iPad case. Yeah. So come on, people. Look, if you got nothing going on, just jump in iTunes, leave a 5-star positive review. If you're going to leave like a 2-star review, you don't need to. It's fine.
Come talk to us first.
Yeah, so let us know what we can do to make it better. But if you're going to leave us a good review, go do that. And then when we hit 20, we're going to give this thing away. We're all over Twitter. We're all over Facebook. We're on Google Plus a fair amount. I'd like to improve that. The site, policebox.geekasms.com, is really starting to pick up content, so check that out. Man, my voice is starting to go. It's been a rough week. I don't know if there's anything else we need to cover. Now, we did have a special request email, and we're not recording on the 13th. No. But we are recording today, and it will be released on the 13th.
And it will be on the 13th.
So we do want to say congratulations and happy anniversary to Aaron, because tomorrow on the 13th is the 6-year anniversary of when you asked your wife to marry you. And that's a good thing to have celebrated, because she likes Doctor Who. And I got a wife that likes Doctor Who, and I know how awesome that is.
And you all were together talking to us last week.
Which how cool is that? We got a married couple both tweeting us while we're on the show, and that's awesome. And Aaron, I think, is watching actually. Now that
he popped on and said he was late. But so if you're still watching, dude, hey,
we're all for happy Doctor Who marriages. We support you, and you all are in Australia, and that's awesome. I would say something probably offensive, like from Crocodile Dundee, but I'm not going to do that. Because
I'll behave because my sister's boyfriend's from Australia, so
maybe they know each other. It's only a big country. Why would I assume
I know. I'd keep that in the back of my mind. It's like, I want to ask, do you know Mario?
I hope they know a Mario. This would make me happy. An entire country. I hope they go, yeah, I know Mario.
Yeah,
we eat pizza at the same place all the time. He's my dude. We're rambling at this point. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to cover. Website policebox.geekasms.com. At PoliceBXParadox on Twitter. We are Facebook.com/PoliceBoxParadox. You can email us, TARDIS@tphpod.net. If anybody out there is wanting to write articles, reviews of old episodes, cover content, anything you want to do, get with us and let us know. We like to get a few people helping us write on the site.
And I'll say this, and this is the same stuff I offer on Geekasm. If you've got a site, if you've got anything, we will give you a nice little box on the bottom, a little author bio if you want, and we will link to anything and everything you want to link in exchange for the content on our site. We'll throw content and traffic
like
as
a
much
guest
as we
post,
can towards wherever you want it.
Yeah, because I was talking to Danny Danger Oz on Twitter earlier today, and I'd like him to write like a Brigadier thing and put it on their site. And he's got, I think it's his own site, and I think it'd be awesome if he wrote like a guest post on ours, and then could go and put, link off to all of his other content, and then maybe we could have him on one day for an episode and kind of help plug. Because look, here's the thing I think. There's a whole lot of us that love Doctor Who, and as long as you're not a grumpy person, I'm down to hang out and talk with you. I don't want to deal with grumpy people. I just want to deal with people that love Doctor Who, and so I don't know. We've put out feelers to some people, and some people don't want to talk to us. That's fine. If you're too cool for school, it ain't my fault.
I've got a couple of ideas for feelers I need to send out.
But what I have learned is we have a lot of dogs freaking out because apparently people are coming down the steps even though they're not supposed to. What we do have are a lot of great listeners.
I really hope someone pops on camera here.
There's no telling at this point. We have a lot of great listeners, and I know that we're going to try to, maybe not in October, maybe early November, do a roundtable episode where we open this up, because we can have, is it 9 or 10 people? 9 people, I think. So if it's me, you, and Kyle, we can have 6 people jump in with us, and we can talk Doctor Who. Because I know this month we're going to do, I think we might do another Regen episode. I know we want to do a Kid Panion or a Companion episode at some point, and we got to do a Halloween episode.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. So once we get past that, we'll open up and maybe do a Let Everybody In episode. So if there's things you want to see us do, there's things you want to see us talk about, we're definitely going to do another Regen episode. From the last vote, it looks like Girl in the Fireplace would be the next on the list. Yep. But we'll start a new poll. You all can vote. And when I put them up in the poll, I'm just putting some to get started. If you want to add one, add one. Let that bad boy get votes. There's different ones. I usually don't put, I didn't put Blink and stuff like that because I think that stuff's going to win. I like to hold off on those. I like to go back and get some episodes like I want to do the Blood Family. I want to go back and do, and here's the thing. If there's an episode that's pretty cheesy and we can kind of, not necessarily be mean to, but clown on a little bit, I'm cool with that too. We can go back.
Rose?
Yeah. Yeah, we got to go back and do Rose at some point. And, I want to go back and do, Midnight. I don't think people remember that Midnight's a really good episode. And then, there's a lot of stuff we can do. But basically, we do a show, but it's your all show. So if you want us to talk about stuff, we want to talk about it. Tweet us, email us, hang out with us, do whatever.
Like me buying my plushy TARDIS today.
I got a response. Did you get it at Hastings?
No, I got it at the comic shop in London. They had posted on. I was mad because they posted on Facebook. They had the mini Cybermen plush things and the Daleks and something else and all kinds of other stuff. So I went in there. I was like, I had Abby with me. I was like, I'll trick her into getting something. Oh yeah. And they were still inventory and they didn't have it all out yet. But
so that was it. Was that a Kid Panion trick? Were you trying to force her into liking Doctor
Who? She plays with the Sonic all the time. Right. I mean, I'm trying to coax her into it just a little bit.
And I'll go ahead and put this out here because I don't care if somebody steals it. But what I want us to do is I want us to put together a playbook for converting a fan. These are the steps to convert a child to a Whovian, and these are the steps to do a grown-up. So that there's a different path. Because, if you want to get a little kid to like Doctor Who, you don't start with Blink. You don't do that. No. That's not where you go. That's not, because I think...
You go with the empty child and the doctor dances, don't you? That's
No. You go with something sweet. You almost go Christmas episodes. You almost do something where...
With the scary, deadly Christmas trees, really?
Not that one.
Last year's?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
There's a different way, and I want us to put together a game plan because I think there's people that want to get their kids loving it, and maybe we can come up with a good scenario.
And I can use mine for guinea pigs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care to put mine.
We can legally test them, an experiment. You can sign a piece of paper, and
I can sign off. Absolutely.
Well, with that, I think we will all sign off, and we're not sure what we're doing for the next episode. So send in ideas. We may do a regen. We may come up with a topic. Who knows? But we're anxious to hear from you. So this time, in honor of our beautiful Idris the TARDIS, I will sign off by saying, keep calm and hello.